From Chicago, it's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my show on LinkedIn Live where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. Today, my guest is Nadia Milani. Nadia, please say hello and let my audience know where on the internet they can find you.
Hi, everyone. And hey, Chris, so good to be here. So Nadia Milani right here, VP of Marketing at Proposify. We are a proposal software to help you close more deals. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. Sometimes I'm on Twitter, but not so often. I'm there, but I don't really do much on Twitter. Find me on LinkedIn. And you can also email me too. You can do that too. But I don't really check my emails. Most people that email me won't actually get a response. Sorry, guys. So LinkedIn's the best way of reaching me. Hi all. I see all the comments coming in.
Yeah, well, that's the next part of this. So everybody, say hi to Nadia in the comments. If you don't know me, my name is Chris Bogue. I am your host today. I am a coach and a writer and a sketch comedian living in Chicago. And if you want to find me, the best place to go is on LinkedIn. Go ahead and ring my bell. Connect with me, send a connection request to me and Nadia, both. We are friendly. We'll connect with you. And before we begin the show, everybody weigh in the comments. So if you are watching this show live, if you are in the comments section, let us know where you're watching from, because we do not know if you're here if you don't leave a comment. So weigh in. Today's episode is called Be Prepared. We're going to be talking all about how to prepare, how sellers can prepare to close more deals, how we prepare for our professional lives and our performances. And we want to hear from you. So throw as many questions as you want into the comments. Nadia and I are going to try to answer as many of them as we can throughout the show. And let's get this started. I see we've got Dean in the crowd. We've got Trevor. We've got John, Natalie. You're all amazing. Thank you for showing up. And yeah, Nadia, why don't you start a little bit with, obviously we're going to talk about Proposify because you're VP of marketing there.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in the problem that Proposify is helping sellers solve. So I'm fixated on the video aspect of selling and kind of the more social aspect. You're focused on a different part of the sales. So can you just take my audience through what you're doing there at Proposify?
Yeah, it's so common that we see a lot of conversations, not only on LinkedIn, but even live webinars and stuff like that. It's always, a lot of the time, it's really at the top of the buying process or the beginning of the buying process. So prospecting and even discovery, cold outreach. There's a lot of talk about mutual action plans and the buying building a case, how to build a case. There's a lot of that, but there's not a lot about the close. And Proposify, we help you with the close because we have a software that allows you to summarize the whole entire buying process and put it into a proposal where you can get visibility and metrics around that. And you can summarize all the conversations that you've had with the buyer there. So even in the discovery, all the things that you're learning, the pains, the problems, you take all of that, you put it into a proposal, you summarize it, because, Chris, you could be talking to one buyer, but in these days, specifically now when it's hard to sell tech software sometimes with people consolidating tools, sometimes there's a lot more buyers that you're not even aware of. So what'll happen is one buyer might forward the proposal to many different people in the organization, or there could be influencers in product, or there could be a COO that's looking at it. And it's great to have that whole entire conversation summarized in the proposal. And Proposify helps you do that. And not only can you summarize it, once you send it, you get analytics. You can understand, has anybody opened the proposal? Is anybody looking at the proposal? Which pages are they spending more time on? Are they spending it just on pricing, or are they spending time on some aspects of the team, or the overview of what the deal is about, so you can start to understand what's happening, who's looking at it, and it gives you visibility into the actual close. Whereas if you're sending it through Word doc or PDF or any of those tools, those old school tools, you get no visibility into what's happening. So that's what Proposify does.
Got it. Yeah, interesting. So yeah, I guess I try to use video for that. I try to get everybody on the same page. I stock my analytics on there. I am more interested in so when you're preparing these conversations and you're preparing the case for people, and actually this would be a fun point for the commenters to jump in on too, and not just on how large the water bottle I'm drinking out of is. Thanks, Trevor, for noticing. There's a lot of places where things could go wrong in going for the close. And I'm going to ask you about one specific, but anybody in the comments, if you want to weigh in on why sellers usually fail to close deals, I'd love to hear from you too. But it seems like, especially nowadays, buyers are bad at holding to the price. There's a lot of pressure to give out discounts. I've been in situations where I've been pressured by bosses to give discounts, and I don't think we should. Tell me about how you stay in the loop with people of keeping them aware of the value and not having to sacrifice that.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. So I'm going to give you a buyer's perspective. So I'm a buyer too. So I'm a VP of marketing, and I buy a lot of tools. I mean, not a lot this year, but I'm usually buying. And one of the things that are really important is to really understand what's happening with not only in the business, what's happening, what's the macroeconomics? I hate that word, but what's happening in the economy, what's happening with my business, and what's happening with me as a head of marketing. So if a buyer approaches me, it's really about why this product, why now, and why do you need it, and how can I help you build that case within your organization. So I think that if you have a really hard problem or a challenge, and you can help that buyer understand how you're going to help them right now, because that's really the thing, is why do I need this today? And if you can make that case and help the buyer make that case, I think you're going to have a higher chance of not only selling within the next little bit, but also at the price point that you want to sell it. And I think that, pricing conversations are hard. And, sometimes I ask for a discount and, sometimes I get it and sometimes I don't. And it's those that sometimes hold to the price that you're like, wow, you know what? Maybe it is kind of worth that particular price point. But it's really about understanding that problem, and it all happens in the discovery stage. So that's why I think discovery is a really important part of the buying process. And the proposal stage helps, because once you do that discovery and you're asking all the right questions and you're really building that case and you're building that relationship and you're being authentic in that conversation, once you get to the proposal stage, it makes it that much easier to close the deal, because you've already talked about all those things and you're just summarizing it at that point, and it makes it easier to close. There's a lot of comments though on discounting coming in through the comments though. Discount.
Well,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I ask about it too, because as somebody who spent most of his time on the selling side, oftentimes somebody will book a demo and they don't want to talk about anything until they get the price out of you right away. Right. And it can be very useful to delay those talks until you've built a case for why this is something they need, because that is why sales and marketing exist. If everybody just knew that it was time for them to fix something and they would just go out, none of this would exist, So it's oftentimes you have to get people into conversation. You have to demonstrate to them that this is costing them money and they need to make some sort of change in order to fix a problem. I'm wondering is that are you building the deal essentially from you said starts at the discovery phase basically? So is it that first actual meeting where they're talking, you are communicating that info to Proposify in a way that you're sharing it with the other person?
Yeah, I think it all begins at the really. I mean, I think it all starts at the beginning. And I had a really great conversation with Jen Allen Knuth. I figured out how to pronounce the last name last week on Close the
Friend
Show.
of the show. Friend of the
Yeah,
show.
and it really talked about we talked a lot about, like, just being, really authentic as well. So it's not like the one thing that's going to, like, get you to the close, but I think that there's a lot around, and we were talking a lot about this, about authenticity and just being really real, like being authentic and building that relationship, based on who you are, and just building that rapport, right? So it's, and it happens at the beginning. So it's really about the discovery, asking the right questions, but also, building that real relationship. And sometimes I'm guilty of this too. Like sometimes, I don't have a lot of time. And I ask for price right away. I'm just like, okay, I really, but what I'll usually say is like, you know what, I really need this, but I need to understand the price, because if it's not within the range that I can spend this year, then there's no point even having this conversation. So, but I have triggered that, you know what, I do need the
No,
soft.
that's what happens. And I actually have so I always love disagreeing with my guests. And Nadia is my guest. Jen Allen has been my guest. So I'm going to disagree with both of you here. I think
Okay.
the magic of Proposify is just that it looks good. And I
Mhm.
think all the stuff you're talking about with the relationship building and the authenticity and the trust building, I think when the close and the proposal is sloppy and unclear and looks slapdash, I think it distracts from all the relationship building and like value adding that's been happening. And I think, like, as a seller, I was just bad at making like PowerPoint slides, and I was bad at making materials. And I think just having something that is quick and easy, and it's like, oh yeah, you just go and here's all the things and it's pretty maids all in a row, that helps a lot. And as a business owner, that's a thing too, whereas like all my stuff used to look like way shittier because I was just doing it all myself with my free accounts that I had, wherever I could get it. And once I started paying for more sophisticated software, from, in my case, stock media, I
Right.
pay for a stock media subscription. So I've got stock footage, stock sound effects, stock animated effects. Like, now I can actually showcase my talents and my personality and my relationship building skills. It's because that stuff was making me look like an amateur. And I think, yeah, sellers are totally guilty of, like, they spend all their time trying to do this creative outreach and creative prospecting and creative email campaigns and stuff. And then, yeah, you get to that point where the pressure's on, you got to close it and you choke because it's just not as well prepared as all the other stuff you spend 99% of your time thinking about because everyone's just obsessed with more pipeline.
Somebody said it in the chat, and I'm scrolling through and I can't find it, but somebody said credibility, right? So I think like there's a lot about looking looking good in branding, that when you discount you, your credibility cheapens you. That's absolutely true. But also, if you look terrible or you sound terrible at any stage of the buying process, that also ruins your credibility. And it's so true at the proposal stage. So if everything's going great and you look great and it's been going well and the relationship is going well and you've got the deal, and all of a sudden you're sending it on a Word doc, or it's like it's just a quote, and there's multiple buyers in the conversation, it looks like, it looks like shit, basically, I'm going to say it. That ruins your credibility, not only for yourself but the brand. Even if you're a solopreneur, even if you're someone working at a small company, or you're working at a company with 10 sales reps, if you have a proposal that looks like crap, it's going to ruin the deal. I think it's going to have some impact on the deal.
I was always taught that, someone told me, sales should be like a river. You
Hmm.
know, you want to create a current, and you want to make it easier for the other person to go along with the current than to break the current.
Hmm.
And I think in sales and marketing, it's very important, especially if you're new. The first time I ever negotiated a 5-figure consulting deal for myself, I had never done that before.
Good
But
for
I
you.
had oh,
Nice.
well, yeah, but I had to act like I did. They were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's go ahead." And I'm like, "I'll send it right over," but it's like I had to go make it look good. And it's like there was a time when I was a younger seller where, like, I completely lost the sale because, again, I was so worried on, like, this person's not going to like me. I'm going to lose it. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I got to do my dials and stuff. That like the first time I was in a sales role and somebody was like, yes, son, I would like to buy this. I'd like to buy it right now. How do I do that? I'm like, somebody help. What do I do? Because I just
fake it. You fake it till you make it, man. And that's exactly what you did. Somebody's just going to fake it till you make it. And if there's like, you know what? Like if you have a 6-figure deal, you've never done it before, just like go with the flow.
Like,
go down that river with 2 oars or even 1 or no oar. Just like make it flow.
Just remember this phrase. Here's what we always do. We just go boop-a-doop-a-doo. And just get that to me by end of day. Hey, why don't we just share your screen? You could just do it now. And actually, that's a really great transition to segment 2, which is Gimme Gimme.
Oh my gosh, are we gimme gimme? Give me something.
Yeah, we're gonna do some Gimme Gimme. Okay, so if you've ever watched this show before, you know that there's a segment that we always do because there's a lot of misconceptions out there on LinkedIn. So some people think LinkedIn is just for friendship. Some people think it's to selflessly give away value without ever asking for anything in return. But LinkedIn is actually the only social network that was created exclusively for self-promotion. Yeah, that's right. It was designed so people could go showcase what they've done, so they could get new jobs and new business opportunities. So we like to take this segment every episode where I pop into character and my guest and I ask my audience for exactly what we want. So Nadia, are you ready for Gimme Gimme?
I'm so ready for Gimme Gimme. Give me the Gimme Gimme.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, I've been practicing that all week. Give me the Gimme Gimme.
Hello, Boss Bogue here, back for another episode of Gimme Gimme, the part of the show where I ask you for money. Nadia! You got my audience here. They're on LinkedIn. They have money. What do you want from them?
Go to proposalify.com and get a demo today or get a free trial. And can I ask for something else? Can
you ask for literally anything you want.
Okay. So also go to proposalify.com and download the latest data proposals for all the latest stats on how you can make your proposals better, how to optimize them to close and double your close rates with all those stats. Go to proposalify.com right now. Give me it.
Yeah. Listen to the woman. You see that QR code up there? That'll take you to the demo page. You really want to make her day? You really want to make your own day? Go to the Proposify page. Check it out because I've seen the presentations that your sales reps are giving. They are dog shit. Absolute dog shit. Okay? They don't know what they're doing. Sales teams have it rough out there. Arm them with some tools that are going to actually help them get deals over the line. And while you're at that, I have some educational content that I'd like to show the audience too. Iggy, can you roll that clip? Do you have the educational content queued up?
Hello? Is this Mr. Sherber? It sure is. What can I help you with, brother?
Hello. You were not expecting this call. Do you have 17 seconds to learn about mercifully short?
Is this a cold call? I don't know. You. Never call this number again.
Oh no! Another unsuccessful cold call. You probably don't have time to fuck off.
I got a quota to hit.
Are you spending hours every week cold calling and cold emailing but not seeing results?
There's gotta be a better way.
Introducing the complete guide to selling on video. Whether you're new to sales or a President's Club member, this fast and fun course will teach you to efficiently create short, customized videos that get results. The complete guide to selling on video is not sold in stores. Visit chrisbogue.io and use promo code GIMMEGIMME to take $50 off while supplies last. Don't delay. Get noticed today.
Yeah. Now, I know what you're saying at home. Hey, that wasn't very educational. That was just blatant self-promotion. Yeah, because I need to go out there and make amazing content for you, okay? Every single dollar you spend on this business goes into making more wonderful materials for you. And by the way, your team does not understand how to sell on video, okay? You have to understand that it's not easy out there, right? The only way I can describe my video prospecting training is it's like a luxurious Charlie Parker jazz solo, all right? You got to understand and listen for all the things that I'm not doing. All right. Your prospects look at your prospecting videos and they say, I don't know why, but this just feels like I don't like it. It's because you're doing 20 different things wrong and you don't know where to start. Okay. This course is amazing. Everybody who's ever taken this course, you know what they do? They get done, and the first thing they do, they point at me and they scream, "Boss, you should have charged me more money for this." And I say, "Congratulations, you passed the course. Get out there and sell." So go scan the QR code, use promo code GIMME, or bring me in to train your team. I train for sales. I also train for content marketing. It's delightful. We'll have a good time. Nadia, got anything else?
Just go to Proposalify.com today and get that demo.
Do it. There it is. And there's the other one. This has been Gimme. All right. So
Amazing. I love the tie. I love the orange tie.
Yeah, I change the tie up sometimes, but yeah, so that's a little segment I do every show because it works.
By the way, I know you're the video guy, and so you can't put videos in proposals. So, like for example, at Proposify, we integrate with Vidyard. You can put an actual video in the proposal, and then I always say also follow up with the video. You have your proposal link, add the video in the email to also help with the close. So there's an opportunity to also roll in video in the closing stage of the sales process. Just wanted to add that in.
Oh yeah. I mean, we cover that in the course too. It actually worked very nicely with my training because that's what I teach them. Like, hey, after the meeting's done, you recap that. Right. You recap the most important parts of them. You do that on video. You make it shorter than 60 seconds, and you make sure all the decision makers see it. And you can track that. And then if they're not watching it, something's wrong, right? You got to figure out how to get them back in. But it's just keeping them close. And again, you want them focused completely on your performance, nothing else. And sloppy, unclear materials just detract focus from that. So this is a nice segue to the final segment of the show here. Nadia and I have been promising you throughout the week that we're going to give you a little bit of a behind the scenes kind of conversation. So I'm going to talk with you now, Nadia, about how you prepare for what you're doing. You used to work in television and now you're in the SaaS world. And I think it's fascinating that you're out there doing marketing. I do a lot of preparation for my stuff. So we're going to jump in there, and anyone in the comments who is here, if you have any questions about how we prepare for video, how we prepare for presentations, how we prepare for our jobs or for live streams, or if you want to share some thoughts about how you prepare, go ahead and weigh in the comments. But Nadia, I guess I'll start with there's so much talk in the business world about speed and just acting fast. And I get that, but there is a part that needs to prepare. You do need to prepare before you do things. I'm a big believer in you have to work slow to be able to work fast. Yeah. You have to be able to get really focused, get really deep, really think about the problem, really listen, really learn, really get a bird's eye view. And then when you do act, it's got to be consistent. You got to be prompt. You got to be on the ball. So I am wondering, how much time do you spend preparing just in general for the things you do in your business? You're live streaming, you're, managing people, you're doing presentations. How much preparation goes into what you do? Or are you just kind of you've been doing it so much that you can just kind of pick it up and not have to prepare a lot? Because I can tell you my answer. I want you to go first.
You know what? I do want to say that. So now I've been working with Chris. You and I have been talking more these days, and you were on Closing Show Live. And I absolutely respect how much time you put into what you do, because there's not many professionals that I've worked with that do it. So I, like you mentioned, came in from the TV industry. So I'm older than I look, and sometimes sound. But that was major preparation. It didn't matter what we did. It's editing, and it's scripts, and it's there's so much preparation involved in everything you do. Even marketing campaigns were 3 months out, you would figure out what you're doing, or longer, have a year plan. Where in digital, it's super, super fast and SaaS, and moving from that world. And then I went into e-commerce, and then cloud, and then now SaaS. It's everything's faster. It's faster because time has moved on, but everything is so much faster. So I think there's a couple of things with preparation. So one is that, I'm on TikTok, Diaries of a Wimpy CMO. And there's one, that's my handle, by the way, Diary of a Wimpy CMO.
I got questions about that, but go on.
And so, yeah, it's just poking fun and marketing. And you know what? It's like, you can't take marketing too seriously ever. So that was inspiration behind the handle. But the thing is like, there's a post that I did about my calendar. So my calendar is like pretty much like, I'm like booked like literally usually from 8 a.m. till like 6 p.m. And sometimes I do lives, and sometimes I do events, and sometimes I host things. And it's really, it's busy. So, and I have, you know, children too. One of them's downstairs right now playing the new Zelda game. By the way, it's fantastic. Highly recommend on Switch. So the thing is that you have to pick what you're going to prepare for, because you can't prepare really well for every single thing. So I've learned that you got to really be strategic about what you're going to be planning for. And those are usually the big things, like, you know, presentations, or I was at a conference last week, we were hosting a dinner and we had a presentation. So those things are really the things that matter. So I'll spend a lot of time on that. Sometimes I overbook myself. And this is the one thing you mentioned, like slowing down and speeding up. Sometimes I'm moving too fast. And I'm guilty of saying yes to too much too. So I say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to jump in on that then, because
Okay.
this is a sass thing. You sass kids, I swear to God, I'm like, oh my God, calm down sometime. And
Right.
that's really, really what I have to do as a coach a lot of the time. And it's like, it's funny because I stepped out of like tech sales because I was just like, I see this opportunity to do my own thing and I can't do it on somebody else's watch. It's got to be me. I've got to go for it. And yeah, a lot of it was slowing down. Everything I do is like a couple minutes long max, aside from this show. But usually it's always, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minute kind of really fast stuff. And yeah, I will work with these SaaS companies and nobody has any time to do anything because the deadlines are always too soon and things are always popping up. They had a meeting where some number was trending down. So now they're just trying some crazy new strategy. And I'll get into a meeting because I'll be there to like coach their content creators. And they're like, okay, well, I got to do this. And like, I've got like 30 different ideas and that could be a series and this and that. And I go, okay, slow down. Let's take the simplest one of those and just bang it out right now. Like, talk me through that premise. And they talk me through the premise. And I go, okay, I just wrote that out as an outline. That is a bullet point outline. It is in your inbox right now. Let's get that out before the weekend. And it's like, again, they've got 20 different things on the calendar. They've got 20 different content ideas in their mind. And I'm like, okay, if I wanted to do the full extent of my ideas, I would have a full-time marching band that just like parades through. Like, I already throw too much insanity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I needed to rein myself in. And I didn't do that myself. Like, I went to therapy. I've hired coaches. I do a lot of networking, and I'm in groups with people who know more than me, who've bought and exited, multiple businesses. And like, I learn a lot from them, and they tell me when I'm doing too much, or they tell me when I need to slow down or when I need to speed up. But yeah, I just find like the B2B stuff, it's go, go, go. And is that like, so were you always, I guess, like, let's expand this outside of B2B then. Are you a person who's more likely to over prepare for things or under prepare?
So I used to over prepare. So I used to be one of those people that over prepared for everything. And then it's like, I stopped doing that just because there wasn't enough time to do that. And I'm like, and I also just, it's okay if I do well. I don't have to be great at every single thing I do. And usually if I do bad, like, nothing happens. Like, there's nothing that's going to happen if you usually do not that great. But there are certain things that need to go really, really well. So, and most of that, has to do with like, personal stuff. Like, so I think with work, it's like most of the things I feel like you don't need to put so much pressure on oneself to over prepare. But there are a few times when, I will do that. I will put a lot more effort. And those are like the big things, like big deals, or if I'm doing a big talk, like a presentation at a conference, or, I'm doing a big speaking session. Or, if I'm going to be applying for a job that I really, really, really want to get. I'm a proposify, love it here. But, if I really want to get something, that I'm going to usually over prepare. And when I say over prepare, it's like just having, just extra things in the back of my pocket. So if like I'm having a conversation and I want to have if I'm in a deal, for example, and somebody brings me into the deal as the VP of marketing, I want to have a few points in the back of my pocket in case the conversation goes there. So I have some good answers if it does go there. But I usually don't. It's very rare that I over prepare for anything these days. What about you, Chris?
So I definitely spent too much of my life over preparing for everything. I felt like everything had to be perfect, and I thought people cared much more about my mistakes than they actually do. Part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is because I had some friends who like moved to Los Angeles and built a very successful content brand, like a multi-million-dollar like YouTube and TikTok brand. And like just seeing that they could do it, and also that you're right, it's not television. We have entered this different era where it's like we've all kind of got to be media stars, but this is a different, more informal thing. You
know what drives me crazy?
What
drives me crazy? What drives me crazy is when you spend like hours and hours on a video, and I see this like at Proposify, we'll spend all this time on a video. And then you see like this 7-second TikTok video that is like, if somebody just like hanging up a phone, it's like some, just like sales video. And then like, it's like one filter, it's 7 seconds and it has like 1 million views. I think Sales Feed just posted something similar. They posted something on, it was literally a 7-second video that was an afterthought. I think it was Chris Von Prague that did it. And he posted about this. It's like, and that's what drives me crazy. It's like this like media has changed. Like those days where we have to spend like hours and hours on editing or over. It's those 7. My daughter just showed me this like 5-second video of a horse that was like on TikTok, and it was the way that he was smiling, and it almost looked like a human smile. 30 million views and like 20 million likes. And it was like
here's the flip of that though. Flip of that though. So the first time I ever closed like my big deal as a solopreneur, the first time I got like a 5-figure like coaching deal closed, like that was a piece of like low performing content. Like I put something out there that was like really focused on video, and I didn't get 3 million views. But one person was like, "Oh, I need a video coach." Like they sent me, they weren't even a first connect, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like 20 or 30 comments on LinkedIn. I was only doing it for a couple of months. I had fewer than 1,000 followers on LinkedIn. And they inbounded through a LinkedIn InMail. And it was like an easy close. I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, what did you pay your last coach? And they told me, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. And then like,
I'll take it.
It was done. But the thing that I've learned over time, and I still have to, I bet we all suffer from this, right? Is like the number on the video doesn't mean as much as you think it does. And, I say this because people will see their engagement start to dip, or their stuff won't be getting as much views as before. So they give up, and I do high content, like high, quality stuff where I'm putting a lot of production into it. I do lower quality stuff. I do live stuff where I don't know how it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I just throw stuff out there all the time. And, sometimes it performs better than others, but it's enough for me to live entirely off my own labor. And I guess this is getting to more of a conversation about structure, because I'm curious about your structures. The only reason I'm able to do as much content on LinkedIn as I do is because I have a really good structure down that's generating content, filling my pipeline, and growing my brand all at the same time. So can you
hit on so many points there though? You hit it. My mind is just like I just want to. There's a couple of things that you have hit on, and it's so true. So one is that doesn't matter if it's not about the actual, views and like the vanity metrics around the content, because it's usually and I see this too. It's usually the lower engagement posts is something that will drive inbound. Like, and I've seen it happen too. So I'll give you an example just that happened recently. So I interviewed Chris Walker from Refine Labs on Closing Show Live, and I had posted a video from that interview, and it didn't get a lot of views and it didn't get a lot of engagement. But from that, like, I think I had about 6 inbound just requests. Can you come speak on my thing? Can you do this? Can we pay you to do a guest speaking thing? And that's sometimes what happens is, like, even though it didn't perform that well from a view perspective, or I didn't have a lot of high engagement, people see it. And sometimes it's the right person that sees it, even though I wasn't really looking for a speaking engagement, but it just happened. So that's one thing that you touched on, which I think is so true. The other thing is consistency. Consistency is so important, because in Q1, I decided I was going to post every single day on LinkedIn. So I did that for, I think, 10 weeks straight. And I was so tired. After 10 weeks of posting every day, I'm like, how do people do this every day? I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. And I know there's like the batch content. And I remember it was Tim Davidson, actually, who he reached out on DM. Him and I were actually going back and forth. That's where the inspiration also came out of for Diary of a Wimpy CMO. He's like, but anyway, what he did say was that just keep going. Just keep going, do batch content, try to do that type of stuff. And but it's hard, but consistency is so key, because and I also variety. So the variety of different posts you mentioned, like you cut, the low quality, the high quality, and it's so important to do all of that. And that all helps in getting the inbound or the LinkedIn qualified opportunities that you need to drive your business.
Yeah. And here's what, to my audience who doesn't like super know the way that I work too, like how my content strategy works is every 2 weeks I have a live stream, right? I always need a guest. That's always going to be something I need to do. I'm always going to have the gimme segment, in the middle. That means I have to learn one new song every 2 weeks too, right? So that opening little ditty, like, I'm not a good musician. I'm learning again for the first time after a long time. But part of the reason why I can learn is I just pick one song that I associate with my guest and the theme, and I learn it over the course of 2 weeks whenever I have like 5 minutes. Each show has a theme, so everything about me and Nadia's show is about preparation, right? So that already lends itself to a couple pieces of content. Hey, I create the event. I invite people to it. You get a few hundred people to show up. That's content in the feed. I also know I'm always going to write one promo sketch with my guest, and I try to make it easy for them where they can just record a couple simple lines into their phone. Yeah. But I turn it into a big, crazy production because I want to drive some hype and drive more viewers to the show. But that's a piece of content. And it's like, from there, you don't have to do that much more to have something out once or twice a day. And I did things this week, like I included a screenshot of what it looked like editing the program. I asked my audience a question that got a few hundred responses. I asked them, how do you prepare? How much time do you spend preparing for your presentations? And this all gets repackaged and repurposed. I cut the comedy clips together. I cut the music clips. I cut interview clips. I splice them all together. So it's not just a talking head video. It's got some variety in there. And that also creates demand for what I'm doing. It provides some direction for like who's giving me buying signals. These are the people that are easier for me to go pitch my stuff to. And it's like, maybe I don't have 4 million followers, but I also didn't reach out to that horse video and offer them a 5-figure consulting deal, So like you take the good with the bad.
Take the good with the bad. That's what you got to do. So I love that. And, Justin Welsh has like his like playbook of how to do it. The one thing is that our CEO actually downloaded it because he was interested in like,
I've taken it
more. Yeah. So, I mean, it's about themes too. It's like which themes can you, like, what can you talk about easily and figuring what those are. So I remember when I was starting to publish every day, it was like, okay. So I took that from the course. And my CEO Kyle was like, okay, you can have, you can look through the course. And then I think I got to page 2 or like the second thing and I never finished it. But even just that, like having like 5 themes is helpful to help publish every single day. I don't do it anymore. Like I do usually 2 to 3 posts a day, but it was fun while it lasted. I think I did about almost like 6 no, I would say 5 months of almost publishing 5 days a week. And then now I'm like 3 days a week, just because now I have conferences. It's hard to do that. Even though at conferences, you can like, that's when you can have the most.
Yeah, you could. But here's the thing though. And this might help people in the audience who like struggle to get stuff out, right? Because people fall behind. People have ambitious goals for their content and they fall behind. I have to do stuff with other people. And that's how I've always been. Like, I was never taught to be a solo video creator. I trained at Chicago's Second City, where I was writing with a team of writers, you know? And when you take the classes there, you have to have one sketch written every single week, you know, because you're paying for the classes. And again, it's like, if I'm doing things where I'm working with other people, you know, I'm coming on the show, I have to promote them and I have to promote myself. The show has to go on, even if it's not totally done yet. You know, and it there just comes a point where it's like, I just have to put it out. And, you know, I'm a person who always liked other people. I always enjoyed working off of other people. I like to think I see the good in other people and I see other people for their talents. So my structure now is like, okay, well, what do I like about this person? What is this person knowledgeable about? That's the theme for the next 2 weeks. And let's see how many different ways I can explore that theme. And like last week's show, if anybody listened to last week's show, if you want to listen to the audio podcast, I do have this in audio form. You can scan the QR code right there. I had Tim Davidson on. His show was show up in uninvited. So we just showed up in weird places because that's what he does, you know, and I had a lot of fun posting comments in weird spaces, you know, doing weird video content. We did this bizarre sketch that went into the comment section.
Oh, you just reminded me. Natalie Monroe asked me to do a challenge, a slicing challenge from that. Cause I actually did attend that show live. And then Natalie, what was, if you're still here,
Natalie Monroe, she said my musical endeavors are inspiring.
Yeah. And then she also said, she also asked me to chop something like a vegetable as a challenge. So I gotta take her up on that challenge.
Hey, that's easy content. Next week, I'm going to have Gabrielle Blackwell on.
Amazing.
And I like her because she's one of those people that is just like I think the show title that we're going to go with is Make It Look Easy. Because she does that. She always looks like she's like, everything she does is very effortless and cool.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with her, and like, anytime you see somebody doing something really effortlessly, it's because they put a shit ton of effort into learning and getting the fundamentals down, you know? And like, that is the greatest compliment anyone can tell me, is when they're like, you just make it look easy. It just looks easy for you to do this, you know? So I'm like, well, I don't have it planned, but I got to do 2 weeks about content about that. I got to write a sketch from me and Gabrielle Blackwell where we make it look easy or we don't make it look easy. You know, I got to ask a poll. I got to do something, you know, let them a little.
Oh my gosh. I think I have so many ideas for that episode. I'm going to like send them to you. I think that there's so many like funny things you can spin off of like trying to do something flawlessly. That's really hard, but you're like doing it and you're making it look flawless. Like, I don't know, just like,
oh yeah. Or no, we're also like, I don't know. We got ideas for that, you know, but like, once you have a structure to work with, everything gets a lot easier. You know, and this kind of goes earlier back what we were talking about with the clothes, especially if you're a solopreneur. I mean, like early on, the biggest challenge was like, I didn't have myself productized. You know, I was like, oh, just pay me money and I'll go do Chris Bogue stuff with you, you know? And like, once I had to turn that into packages where it's like, okay, here's like the low commitment package. Here's what a monthly commitment looks like. You know, here's like a retainer situation we could do. Then it got a lot easier. You know, and like, again, with the content, it's like, I've got my formats down, you know, the sketches, like they follow like a similar rhythm, you know, and it's like, now that I have that, I can put out just vastly more content, but it was because I imposed restrictions on myself.
I think it's really important to do that too. I think like you need to have a lot of self-awareness of like what you can do, what you can't do, and stop yourself from like overcommitting. But I think that's another thing is like productize. Like once you started to like figure out like what you can actually sell and how you're going to sell it in a format, I think that's really, really important and smart. And I think especially as a solopreneur, it's very easy to get into like, you know, when you're a consultant, I'm just going to do whatever you want me to do. Sure, for this much. But like, if you don't actually have like, what is the product that I'm delivering, and you haven't figured that out, it's going to be really hard to do.
Well, and this also comes back to like collecting information about your audience as you go, and also your story about the 4 million follower horse with the nice smile.
I'm going to send it to you.
Please do. I'm on r/awe on Reddit all the time because I just love adorable animal videos. But you don't necessarily know what resonates with your audience until you start putting stuff out there. And oftentimes you and your audience are going to disagree about what good content is. I'm like, oh no, this is my masterpiece because I think it's so brilliant. And they're like, actually, you just made some goofy facial expression for 3 seconds. And like, that's actually what we think is funny, you know? And it's like, I have to keep putting stuff out there. And sometimes I'll be like, oh, that's what worked, you know? And the parallel I draw to sales is like, I see a lot of sellers out there running on a pitch deck with 120 different bullet points in it. And I'm like, hey, maybe only 2 of those points resonated with your audience. That's fine. The entire conversation can be about that. And you might actually get somewhere. But I guess this is the part we can really cover here in the end of just kind of getting more into over preparing too, where it's like they have prepared for all these different scenarios. They prepare to talk about every single feature they have. They are prepared to handle a bunch of objections that their buyer may not have. They've just prepared everything in the kitchen sink to go out there. And the older I get, the more it's like I have prepared what I do. I know what value I have to bring. And that allows me to, again, not detract from myself. I can just sit there and listen to someone, you know, and like have them tell me what they need.
It's such a really great point. And it's so true. And I think that it comes with age too.
Yeah. Because we don't know what we have to offer when we're young.
We don't. And I think that sometimes when you're over preparing and you hit that point is that you are over preparing. You're preparing for scenarios that are probably not going to happen. So when you're present and you know what you know, you're going to be fine. But being able to be present and listen, that's actually going to be more impactful sometimes than over preparing.
Yeah. And I think that it comes from a place of personal insecurity, you know, and I found this is a trap I fell into as a young seller. I would get worse at selling the product over time because the more I learned about the product's flaws, the more I started doing weird things where I was like trying to like preemptively get them ready to not have a problem with it. And really what I was doing is I was just introducing objections into the buyer's mind. I was giving them reasons not to like it instead of getting curious about why they decided to take the meeting with me in the first place. And more importantly, what do they think they're getting out of it? You know, right. And that's a content thing too. You know, I when I'm doing my job as a content creator, I get someone within 3 seconds to be like, all right, I think this is for me. I think I want to check this out. You know, I don't know. Am I the only one who's gone through that? Or have you ever, is this a chasm that Nadia, you or maybe people in the comments have crossed where you had to be like, you know what? I know these are my flaws. I know this is the limitation of like the thing I'm selling. We can just not focus on that, you know? Or if like someone calls you out on it and be like, oh yeah, we should get that fixed. Good question. And then you just move like right along, you know? I don't know. There was at some point where, again, I stopped feeling like I had to explain why I was qualified to talk to someone. And I just was like, okay, this person's talking to me. Like, what do they want? And it's really not about me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it comes with experience. It comes with confidence. It comes with not like, you know, I think sometimes when we're in 20s and 30s, there's this insecurity, or especially when you're doing something new. And I think that as you get older, it's like, you know, it doesn't matter as much, you know, the perfection part of it doesn't matter as much. And I think it's official. No, so I thought I saw a comment that was relevant to this conversation, but it may have not been relevant to this conversation. But I think, you know, it's important to just, you know, prepare maybe a little bit, but I think over preparing can sometimes sabotage it.
Yeah, I think you have to do it enough to know how much is too much.
That's right.
And again, it's like I don't know what I was thinking when I was younger, but I was just thinking the audience had much more knowledge about me and much more stakes in me than like it's reasonable to expect from people. And it's like I really had to like look at myself. And again, this came with age. This came with making a lot of bad mistakes. By the way, I went through a divorce and I went through this, really rough time where I was kind of like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And like, how did I get everything so wrong? And I really had to take inventory of myself of like, what was every time in my life where I did something and people were like, oh, oh, here's money for that. Thank you. I had to make like a big list of that and just be like, okay, how could I rearrange my life so I am spending as much time as possible doing the things on this list and not doing the things that make me feel like garbage. Like I am good on camera. I am good writing. Making artistic presentations is not something I like doing or want to do, And it's like, I look back on it and it's like, I knew my proposals looked bad when I was a seller. And that probably affected my performance and the way I carried myself. And again, just like as a business owner, you learn like, oh, I'm not good at that. I'll just pay somebody else to do it, and like, boom, it's done. And it's like, I do that all the time. I will reach out sometimes if I need a flyer created or something like specialty created. And it's like, I'll just pay someone to do it. And someone can do it in an hour. And it looks way better than what I would have spent 2 days making. And like, whatever, the audience doesn't care how much effort you put into it. So aside from everyone buying our wonderful products and services, Nadia, are there any parting thoughts you can give my audience about like just preparing, or like, let's say maybe somebody's got a meeting tomorrow on the calendar. Maybe it's a big sales meeting, maybe it's a conference presentation. Any last minute tips you would give on how to think about preparing for something like that?
Yeah, I think it's important to, especially from a sales perspective, you need to do a little bit of preparation in advance. So know who the buyer is, try to understand what their challenges are, and authentically take them through that buying process all the way to the proposal stage, and be able to summarize it at the end. And I think that is a really great way to help the buyer prepare for the close. So they're able to close that deal, because if they have to forward it to anyone, they can do that in the proposal stage. So don't over prepare and don't sweat it, and don't, just be confident in every stage as much as possible. That's my final thought.
Yeah. Confidence in every stage is
It's
a hard
hard.
thing it's a hard thing. My preparation advice is just listen a lot. Watch, if you're on a sales team and you're nervous about like your first opportunity to do a big close, go get curious about what the closers on the team are doing. They're not pulling a rabbit out of the hat each time. They've got a set process. They've got words. They've got questions. They've got a flow. If you want to get out there and start creating video content or creative content, ask yourself, like, what do I like to listen to? What do I like to watch? What do I like to read? What is it that they're doing that I'm not doing? And take that time to really understand it. But then deadlines are your friend. That's the nice thing about meetings. There's a time they start and a time they end. Team up with somebody if you have to. Me and Nadia threw a sketch out there this week. Nadia, you were amazing, by the way. Thank you for being a good sport in our ridiculous sketch. And yeah, we are reaching the end of the show here. So
1 hour, just like that.
Ooh, actually, let's do one last question here, just because I love this last one that popped up. Nathan asked, are there any red flags that let you know you're definitely over preparing?
Yeah, if you're stressed, if you're just like stressed and obsessing over something and you just can't think about it, you're over preparing, you're overthinking it. And if there's like way too many pages, and you don't have like the 2 to 3 key bullets that you want to actually talk about, you're over preparing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess that's an after the fact. I always need to like, I take inventory and like, I'll be like, oh, I spent 3 hours doing that and that was stupid. They didn't even notice that, but like, oh, this other thing is like killing it. I should learn how to do a slightly better version of that.
Yeah, you know what? It's like it is one of those things where it's like so much clearer in hindsight. It's like, why did I agonize over that meeting or that presentation or that interview? Like, yeah. So it's always like in hindsight where you realize, gosh, that was way too much time spent.
Yeah, that's how you do it. And then go talk to someone who knows more than you, who's been doing it, because they only know how to do it well because they've failed a lot too. And then it brought them to a better solution. So, Nadia, this has been wonderful. Everybody, thank you for weighing in today in the comments.
Thank you.
Nadia, do you want to take one last opportunity to just like plug your stuff for anybody who wants to follow you or connect with you?
Absolutely. So I'm a marketer who's now like the BDR team reports into marketing now. So I'm officially like kind of in sales. So if you want to know more about Proposify, you can also DM me on LinkedIn. You can find me there. Happy to chat. And also happy to chat on anything marketing content. Happy to chat there as well. Thanks for having me. This has been so much fun and totally like out of my comfort zone, like that whole skit stuff I normally don't do. So thanks for pushing me out of my comfort zone, Chris.
I'm awesome. So happy you did it. Yeah. Anybody, if you want to follow me, look for Chris Bogue on LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me. I put content out there every day, much of it comedic. You can watch our absurd breakfast themed game show, which is one of the most bizarre things I've ever done on LinkedIn. It was a good time. Once again, complete guide to selling on video. Check it out. That's how I pay the bills. Help out the show. I'm just going to spend the money investing on making bigger, cooler stuff and growing the business. And then finally, if you want to catch previous episodes of Chris Sells His Soul, you can go ahead and scan this barcode. Take out your little phone and the camera. I throw all these episodes up as audio podcasts. It takes a few months before it reaches the audio episode. But I've got new content out there. I just posted an episode, me and Nick Capozzi's episode, Never Shut Up. Hilarious guy, Nick Capozzi, great conversation about sales and video and content and how to get it out there. So check out Chris Sells His Soul wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Spotify, Apple, Google. And I'll see you 2 weeks from now. Say bye, Nadia.
Bye, everyone.